Instruction, golf news, equipment, travel, interviews, course profiles, and more. Your weekly fix of all things golf is about to begin. It's the Flagstick Podcast with your hosts, Jeff Potter and Scott McLeod. All right. Well, welcome to the Flagstick Podcast. The post-Masters Flagstick Podcast, we'll call it. Very exciting. Very exciting. Lots to talk about with respect to that. As well as a couple of other interesting topics that we'll get to this week. First of all, the Flagstick Podcast this week brought to you by our good friends at Golf PEI. Golf Prince Edward Island is a premier Canadian golf destination boasting the most number of golf courses per capita in the country, with over 400 fairways closer than you can imagine, top-tier accommodations, and exquisite culinary experiences. It is the easiest golf vacation you will ever book. Book your golf vacations and tee times at golfpei.ca. Obviously, we are very hopeful that you're already doing this, but follow us across all our social media networks, Instagram, X, TikTok, and Facebook, and please subscribe on Spotify, Audible, Amazon Music, and Apple Podcasts. We really encourage you to hit up that YouTube channel. Subscribers are increasing daily, so that's a good thing. Like us and click the notification bell. Make sure that you never miss a single episode of this podcast or anything else that we happen to want to put up there for you to look at. All right. Well, boy, oh boy, oh boy. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. Scott, did you take it all in? Did you absorb it all?
I did.
In its entirety?
I did. It was yeah, I mean, there's so many things that we can talk about and say, but it feels like a little bit of a hangover here, after it's over. And one, was it real? Did it actually happen? Did it actually happen the way it did happen?
It was so freaking emotional and all over the map. Like as far as golf tournaments go and major championships go, all over the map. And
we got taken on a ride.
Oh, did we ever? So we're going to get into that in just a second. We're going to wrap up everything that we saw, everything we heard, everything that we felt. And we're also going to do a little back nine. In the back nine, we're going to get into some junior golf discussion, a little bit on the heels of what transpired over during the OVG, Ottawa Valley Golf Association's annual general meeting. There was some discussion, some junior golf discussion, and we're heavily involved in that aspect of golf. It's where we like to be. So we're going to get into a little bit of discussion there. But first, let's get to the front nine, presented by Metcalf Golf Club, a natural setting, a pleasant challenge. Golf season is here. I feel it is here. People are playing, and we're going to start playing probably as early as next week around here, more so. It is time to start thinking about the golf season ahead. Golf at Metcalf is a perfect place to begin. Get on the membership wait list, because you do have to. Join one of their leagues, participate in one of their great events, or better off, save money with their very popular game passes. Head over to metcalfgolf.com and look all that stuff up and purchase your game passes. All right.
Got it.
Front nine.
You got it.
Masters.
Oh, yeah.
Rory gets it done finally. I think that there's a lot of people that
Fred Couples. He beat Fred Couples. Can you believe it?
Yes, the video and audio recorded evidence is in place that I said Fred Couples would win before Rory. Now, anybody that actually thought it was serious, you need to bang your head off a wall a few times. I did not really actually believe that Fred, though I do believe I texted you during the Masters when Freddie was a couple under par. I'm like, yeah, well, where's Rory? kind of thing.
Yeah.
Rory found his way back to the top of the leaderboard and he stayed there. But he did not make it easy on himself.
He did not.
Despite others trying to help him win by cacking a bit themselves. He just continued to go, yes, I'm good. I'm going to get this done, to nah, maybe not this year, maybe next year. And that went on for 18 friggin' holes.
19.
Like, it was not 19 holes. Well, yeah, the ups and downs of it went on for 18 holes. The closure happened on 18 the way it probably should have happened in regulation. But like, what did you think, man? Like, I mean, it just,
you know what? Here's the thing. Right from the start, I think it pulled us all in.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when and he admitted afterwards, you know, he was intensely nervous, and it showed on that first hole. And you know, he makes that double bogey, and we go from him being two up to two holes later he's one down. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that was just, you know, such a wild start. And we didn't realize how much that was going to continue. Those ups and downs were going to continue for that next 18 holes.
Oh man.
You know, talking to people, seeing people's emotions, hearing about their viewing experiences. I know I was with a small group at Accra Golf True Temper, and, you know, the people couldn't sit. They were like standing up, and sweaters were going over faces and fingers were going over faces, and people were like, I can't believe this is happening. And then everybody was calm for a little bit, and then it, you know, went the other way again. And I think it pulled us in right away. And then, you know, sometimes when we all of a sudden felt comfortable, all of a sudden we got uncomfortable. And it obviously depends on your perspective, but I think everybody was wrapped up in the emotion and the possibilities for Rory. Despite what other players were doing, you know, you might have been cheering on a Bryson or a Justin Rose, and we'll get to
Mm-hmm.
Justin Rose in a little bit here or whatever. But I think the main storyline that, you know, everybody was wrapped up in emotionally, whether you were cheering for him or not, was, could Rory finally do this, given, you know, he was such peak form going in, having won at Pebble Beach, having won the Players, gained more points in world rankings this year than, you know, he's gained 3 times as much as Scotty has this year. So you're thinking it's got to be the time. And then, you know, all of a sudden it's like slap in the face on hole one, and you're going, uh-oh, is this going to be another one of those?
Mm-hmm. Well, and it was what everybody else was doing behind him too, because early on, you know, in the back nine, things kind of separated themselves a little bit, but early on, the charge was coming from behind.
Yeah.
You know, Rory, and I mean, to a point, Bryson was still kind of in it in the
Hey, he
front
was
nine.
relevant. He was
You know,
relevant for a while, for
but
sure.
Rory was backing up, and others were charging forward on the front nine, which is not really where you know, when you think about the Masters, you think about the back nine. You don't always think so much about the front nine, but a
Right.
lot of stuff was happening on the front nine, and
Mm-hmm.
Rory was backing up, and all of a sudden, it's like the field just got really tight because you're looking at that grouping in behind of guys at 8, 7, 6, 9. And you're looking at Rory and Bryson starting the day, you know, at 12 and 10. And you're thinking, okay, this is a 2-horse race.
Mm.
And then all of a sudden it was not a 2-horse race.
Yeah.
And it was like a 8-horse race. And then all of a sudden Justin Rose is just going unconscious. I think
Yeah.
Justin Rose made like 10 birdies
10 birdies in the
on
final round.
Sunday.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
Yeah.
You know, and it just, things just got weird. And then Rory would like do something spectacular and then do something stupid right after it. And it's like, do you really, like, honest man, do you want this or not? Because this is yours.
Winning's
You know,
hard, man.
I know,
Winning
and
is
winning at
so
that
hard.
golf course, and that's probably, I'm going to say, we've talked about, because I brought this up 2 podcasts ago. I'm pretty sure it was 2 podcasts ago. And I said, just for the sake of throwing out some conversation uh, fodder, if you will,
Mm.
that is the Masters really still considered a major? Like, and we talked about it, even though, yes, it's a
I know.
major, you know, but it was something to throw out there just to kind of get you thinking, well, maybe, you know, is it really still this weekend, this year proved that Augusta can show what Augusta is all about. And what I saw was those green complexes
Mm-hmm.
causing just havoc
Mayhem. Yeah.
and mayhem with the players in a this year more than I've seen in many years.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're always a problem, but this year I saw guys chipping it off the front from the backs of greens, chipping it off the front of greens. I saw guys not being, and I think maybe a lot of that had to do with the fact that there wasn't a lot of rain this week. The course was playing firmer, and you could see a lot of browning on the greens, so you could tell that they were browning out, they were burning out a little bit and getting quicker, and you could tell the guys were, you know, the aiming 10 feet, 12 feet right of a hole to make a 6-footer. Like, it was Augusta National in all of its glory,
Yeah.
and I was loving every minute of it because it was just, and then on top of that, throwing the pin on 16 up top like they did in 75. I'm looking at first. I was watching them going, well, that doesn't look like 16 because they're saying, oh, they're on the 16th tee and they're like hitting straight away at the green. I'm like, nah, something weird there. And then they explained the pin position and, 50 years since it was there when Nicholas won in 75. And it's like, I like that pin position because why do I like that pin position? Because it takes away from the player hitting a good shot based on a mistake. And
Correct.
the lower pin position where they can hit it up to the right, it catches the slope and runs down and they end up with a 4-footer. If they miss hit going up top, it comes back down to that lower part and the putt coming back up is hard. If they hit it beyond that pin into the bunker, that is an intimidating bunker shot with the big slope and the water in behind. If they get it too high on the green, the putt coming down could run right by and then down the slope. Like that's a great pin position for Sunday at the Masters. I don't know if they'll keep it there, but wow.
I doubt it. It was a special pin. I had that discussion with a couple of people, just with some text chats. A couple people like, oh, it's traditional position. This was before the round started, and I said, yeah, but it doesn't lead to some of the chaos or the separators that we need. And as you say, you can hit the shot on 16 with the pin down on the left, and then the bowl just kind of runs, shots down there. Where back right, you had to hit it there, and all credit to Rory and Bryson. They both hit fantastic shots in there. I mean, distance control was unbelievable. And it proved obviously to be the, a big linchpin as far as, Rory's win. I think the golf course, as you said, because it got firm, it surprised a lot of players. Even Bryson, you saw his comments afterwards. It just, he said about how some of the greens, he just couldn't believe the green speed and how fast it was and how it got away from him. And then, hole locations, even on like, number 3, the first, number 4, the first par 3, where it was tucked immediately behind the bunker.
Yeah, and that's like a 215, 220 yard shot, is it not?
Yeah, it was like 230 from the back. It plays like about 215 because it's down the slope or whatever. But we saw there that was a 2-shot swing. That was one of the multiple 2-shot swings that we saw early on. And, Rory hitting a fantastic shot. And they're hitting a shot that maybe a lot of other players weren't capable of, just because of the apex that he hits his shots at to, stop a ball in there and then to make the putt, which was a difficult putt. And we saw, Bryson, who had fought the pulls on Saturday and continued to fight the pulls on Sunday, yank one there and then not be able to two putt, make the 4, and then we saw the swing. And then I think things got comfortable for a little while in that front 9, and then sort of people were like, okay, I can breathe now. He's Rory's going along here, he's doing some stuff. As you said, the other players are kind of coming up sort of behind, and I think when he makes the birdie on 9, which was an amazing drive, I should say 5, that shot out of the woods, I mean, that was crazy, especially with that, the tower in the way. He ended up just, saving a great par there. We had some breathing room, and then the back 9 drama.
It's crazy.
Drama.
I mean, here's the thing. You look at the back, his back 9. Okay.
Yeah.
I would say in most golf tournaments, on most golf courses, if you have a back 9 like that, you lose.
Yeah, you're right.
He had 3 birdies, but he had 3 bogeys and a double.
Yeah,
on the back 9. Like, okay, there's only 9 holes on the back 9. He had 3 bogeys and a double out of 9 holes. That's 4 of the 9 holes, and he had 3 birdies.
Like you said, that rarely wins a tournament. That usually loses.
He shot +1.
Yeah.
With a 2-shot lead.
Yeah, and 2 over on that back 9.
And won the golf tournament in the playoff. I mean, it's almost like you talk about, destiny, you talk about meant to be, and maybe it was just meant to be for him this year. Like, there's no other explanation as to why you can play golf like this on the Sunday at the Masters and win. I mean,
yeah, I guess that's why it becomes that much more important that you shoot the rounds that you do on the Friday and the Saturday, and you give yourself the space and the leeway to stumble yourself,
Yeah.
towards the line and get over the line, like you said. But I thought the death knell was going to be on 13 when, he lays up
Oh my God.
and that wedge shot. And he explained it afterwards that, he was expecting it was going to pull a little bit, but he certainly was aimed a little bit more right than he wanted, but he certainly wasn't trying to aim towards that creek. And, to make that 7 there, I think that was the one that got me off the couch and thinking, oh no, this is it. Especially
Mm-hmm.
at that time, Justin Rose was, tearing it up.
Yeah.
And you're thinking, wow, did this ever take a turn? And then, makes the bogey immediately afterwards on 14, and we're like, oh
But
boy.
then it's Justin Rose missing the short one at 15.
Correct. Yeah.
And all of a sudden, he doesn't do that. And now we're talking about crowning Justin Rose. But here's the thing. This is what I've been hearing a lot of from people. And this happens in golf all the time. It happens in all sports all the time, but it happens in golf a lot because you listen to your playing partners say this in the clubhouse after a round. Say, they end up coming in shooting 79 or they shoot 80, and
I
they
know where
come
to
and
go
they
with
say,
this. Yeah.
"Man, if I
Coulda,
just
woulda, shoulda.
I should have if I hadn't made bogey on 6, I would have shot 79." It's like,
Yeah.
okay, wait a second here.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. If you hadn't made bogey on 6, or if Justin Rose hadn't made bogey on 15,
Yep.
and Rory hadn't made double on 13, and Bryson hadn't, like,
Sure.
you're adding up a whole lot of what ifs.
Yeah.
Where the bottom line is that it happened. So but of course, if Rory doesn't birdie 9 and 10, then Justin Rose wins by 1. Like you're adding in a whole bunch of elements that don't matter.
No,
because it happened because
they didn't happen. Yeah,
they didn't
happen.
The round happened. That's the way it played out. And if he didn't make par and he made bogey on this hole, he wouldn't have. So it doesn't matter. None of that matters. This is what if. Well, it doesn't matter.
And I think in Rory said it himself afterwards in this press conference. He said the double on 1 actually calmed him down
I can
because
see that.
he'd made the double there. He said as he's walking to 2, he thought about John Rahm starting with the double when he won a couple of years ago, and the fact that he just kept on trucking. So
I would have been cooked.
Yeah, he said that sort of calmed him down. That basically he knew in his head that it was still possible to make that double on 1, and John Rahm was able to finish it off. So, that helped him. Again, if we look at the what ifs and how things happen, I mean, yeah, these are all the elements that did occur. So, in the end, we got the results we want. So, woulda, coulda, shoulda is fun.
So, if the double on 1 calmed him down, what did going bogey, par, double, bogey, and 4-hole stretch in the back 9 do to him? Because I don't know. I don't know if that would calm you down a whole lot, especially if you turn around and look at and see the leaderboard and go, "Oh damn!"
Yeah.
Where did Rosie come from?
I think some panic would have set in that way. But
oh my gosh,
15 was really interesting as well because he also said, watching Bryson's shot, he had 207 down the hill coming into that green, and he at first had an 8-iron in his hand, and he watched Bryson dump it, 25 yards short in the water, made the switch to a 7, was aimed out to the right, and was prepared that if it stayed to the right or got in the bunker, that was perfectly fine. That was an acceptable miss for him. But obviously, as we saw it,
that was an incredible shot.
That was just a crazy shot. And despite him missing that putt, it certainly was key because he had just gone, as you said, 4 over par in 4 holes, had to birdie or had to get something out of 15, and that was the deal breaker right there. It was like, are you in this or are you out of this? And this is going to determine it, because you certainly cannot count on with that whole location on 16, 17, that green's pretty tough. He struggled with those tee shots all week on 7, 14, and 17.
Yeah.
They all head in that same direction, that same shape. He said, notably that was a struggle for him, and he made his way out of those holes. He Houdini'd his way out of those holes multiple times during the week. So, but then, 18, you're thinking, okay, we're back to this. Pipes the drive, just has to make a par, 125 left in,
block.
Everybody's ready to celebrate, and then this thing you see it going a little to the right, and I'm thinking, okay, right's good. That's fine. Hits at the spot where you're supposed to, and comes back down, and end up with the putt that Justin has, and Mark O'Meara used to win the Masters in '98. It's the usual spot you get to, and bunker time, and then I didn't even know what to think by the time the playoff. I mean, I was happy for Rose, but I gotta say, you're still, even though you're supposed to be unbiased, you're still hoping, man.
Wow. It's history. I think I rooted for Rory this weekend, not because I like Rory better than Bryson or better than somebody else, because Corey Connors is right in there too, and I wasn't rooting for Corey Connors. I wasn't rooting against him.
No, true.
But Rory had an opportunity, as he has every Masters for the last
11 years.
Seems like forever.
11 years
to complete
the
career Grand Slam. And that is something that only 5 other players, that is hallowed ground. That is putting yourself in the conversation with the greatest golfers to ever played the game.
Yeah.
And to have that, to finish that tournament off and win and get the career Grand Slam, that's what you're rooting for. You're rooting for him to make history. And history means winning the Masters. So you are rooting for him to win the Masters, but you're not really rooting for him to win the Masters. You're rooting for him to. It'd be the same thing as if he was trying to do it at the U.S. Open or the Open Championship. I'd be rooting for him to win so that he can make history. Everybody wants to see history. I do.
Sure. Yeah.
I want to see history in my lifetime. I wanted to see Ovechkin break Gretzky's record.
You get to witness it, right?
Yeah, I wanted to see history. So this was and Rory's day to me was there's a really great football movie that I like a lot, and it's called Any Given Sunday, and lots of people like it, and the speech that's made in the dressing room prior to the first game, he's talking about all about the inches that we take, the inches that we get, and you add all those inches up, okay, and that's what winning is, is taking advantage of all those inches. So and with Rory this weekend, or with this on Sunday, it was a game of yards. Like, he was a yard from clearing the bunker on 1. As nervous as he was, he clears that bunker on 1. He doesn't make double. He was a yard from a yard to the right on 18. He's a yard to the left. He hits that collar. The ball comes back to the left. It comes down the slope. 11. Same thing. Like, everything with him was a game of yards, and it was like 1 yard the wrong direction, and he's cooked.
Yeah, and he said that afterwards. He said, the luck sort of went his way a little bit more than maybe it has, and you've obviously got to be skilled to hit the shots and do what you do. I think the other side of it too was the other aspect that he said. His first comment in the media room afterwards, as he said, was he wanted to pose a question, was, what are we going to all talk about next year? And I think that's part of it too, is the fact that not only is it history, it caps this discussion that has been going on for more than a decade now, which has consumed a lot of people. We've spent a lot of time on it, spilled a lot of ink on it, a lot of conversations of, when is he going to win a major again? When is he going to win the Masters? When is he going to complete the Grand Slam? And I think this allows a lot of people to maybe start to focus on some other things. And that's going to be the fun part, I think, is what's the next big conversation. I mean, we're looking now at Spieth, who actually played okay in this, believe it or not.
Yeah.
He's got a chance to join Rory and be part of that and make it 7. If he could win,
he needs a PGA. Yeah,
he needs a PGA. So we've got that coming up in May, and but that said, Quail Hollow is Rory's universe. He's had a lot of success there. So now that he's freed up, as he says, he doesn't feel like he has that burden now, and coming off of Pebble, Players, Masters. I mean, are we about to see the most historic, a super historic year, not only for him, but maybe one of those very special years? it remains to be seen, and that's going to be a lot of the discussion now that he's got that major in hand. We've got Portrush coming up this year, Oakmont for the U.S.
Yeah.
Open. These are definitely venues that play into his skill set. There is some.
Were we talking? Could we be
Oh
talking about
man,
the Grand Slam in 1 year?
I tell you
I
what,
can't see it. I mean, Tiger was obviously the
it's
closest
super.
one to pulling
Yeah,
that off, having the
yeah,
Tiger Slam, holding all
yeah,
of them at one
yeah.
time. But
But
I
you know
mean,
what? Think about
that's
that.
asking a lot, I think.
Yeah, it is asking a lot. But if we write out a script and we think, oh, okay, Royal Portrush to finish the
Hmm.
Open, to finish it off, or I mean,
That's
that's
crazy to think about it,
yeah.
but that's what we do in the media is we speculate and we come up with
Well,
stories,
it's.
scenarios,
I
and
think everybody's gonna be talking about it, but
uh,
that said, to get this 29th career win for him on the PGA Tour, to get that fifth major, to complete that Grand Slam, it's just I think so many people are so happy, and I think it's good for golf. I think it's good for the game. There's a lot of conversations that are going to come out of this Sunday,
mhm.
and I think I think a lot of people are pretty fired up about golf.
I tell you, I mean, I know a lot of I've talked to people who were glad that Bryson dropped out of contention. I'm not one of those
No,
that is glad that he dropped out of contention. I'm happy that Rory won for, like I said, for the sake of history, for the sake of Rory, for the sake of the game. It's good. Bryson DeChambeau, since going to live and kind of redefining himself, has become one of the biggest things and the best things for the growing the game across all um,
all
kind of like
platforms.
all shapes and sizes.
Yeah, yeah,
With his
demographics.
social media, with his the way he interacts with the crowd. I mean, he didn't change the way he interacted with the crowd, despite how things were going. He still
No,
went through, sticking the hands out,
yeah, I
talking to
think
the
I think
crowd.
later on you could tell later on I think he probably felt he was kind of out of it, so you could see a little less energy
But
from
he's
him.
good. He's good for
But
golf,
oh
and
yeah,
he would have been a great champion. I wouldn't have had a
sure,
problem with him winning. I have no
yeah,
problems with Bryson DeChambeau, and I truly believe at some point or another that he may be one of the ones that comes back. Um, I know he doesn't say he says he's not. That's not what he's thinking. But I just
mm,
something tells me that he's kind of looking at spending a little bit more time playing against the best in the world. Because I mean, you put himself out there. They feel like even though that they're on this live instead of the PGA Tour, that they're still considered, you know, the top golfers in the world.
yeah,
And Patrick Reed proved that he can still play, even though I'm not a Patrick Reed fan at all.
sure, yeah.
Joaquin Neiman played well for the better part
Yeah,
of
Bubba Watson T14, Terrell
yeah,
Hatton
which
T14.
just surprised the heck out of me because Watson
Yeah,
hasn't really been playing well on live.
no,
Kepka and Mickelson,
no, not so much.
not so
But
much, but
yeah,
it's got nothing to do. That's got nothing to do with live PGA or
I
otherwise.
think no,
That's
I think
Augusta
these.
National, and
Yeah,
sometimes it just rears its ugly head, and some can handle it, and some. I said to my wife before the Sunday round started, I said I would be surprised if DeChambeau is still there at the end of this because he has
mm,
been struggling with the ball going left,
yeah.
hard left the whole week, and
Saturday
he has
was.
had a short game that and his short game has gotten him out of trouble so much.
Mhm.
I feel like the pressure of a Sunday at the Masters that the short game is at some point or another going to let him down.
Yeah, it's just the odds are against you. You can't hit 11 greens around Augusta National and expect to post under par scores. Just the odds again are against you. You're just not going to do it. So, um, had I hoped he was a little bit, in the mix a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're hoping for that duel kind of at the end or whatever. Didn't expect the duel to be coming out of, Justin Rose. But kudos to him. Yeah, Scheffler crept up there. I think you're right though. I think DeChambeau and Oberg, for an example, those and Corey Connors, those guys are going to continue to contend at the
Mm-hmm.
Masters. We're going to see, at least one of those guys wear a green jacket at some point.
I feel like Oberg is. I feel like
Oh,
his game is so well
two top
suited for
tens
it.
in his first two Masters. Like that's pretty incredible. It really is.
Very
So,
much so.
yeah, you just got to get a few extra breaks and a few things happen, a few extra inches or yards, right?
Yeah, no, exactly. And I mean, um, what's next?
I know.
I know
That's the fun part.
it's like, okay, well, the Masters is now behind us. The storylines have been discussed. Rory has achieved um, golf immortality.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's etched amongst the greats, and
Yes.
now we move on to the next major.
Yep.
I'm
Yep.
excited.
Yeah.
How
It's
can
all
you
good.
not be excited? It's all great. Okay, well, let's put a cap on the Masters for us for another year, friends. Um, and we're going to take a break. When we come back, Scott and I are going to jump into a little conversation about junior golf, and a few different directions we're going to take it,
Yeah.
and they're going to be opinions, like them or not. That's what they are.
Informed
They're
opinions.
opinions, very informed opinions. So stay with us. You are listening to the Flagstick Podcast with Jeff Botter and Scott McLeod. We'll be right back.
Hey, loser buys the first round.
You're on.
On Prince Edward Island, we believe in playing your game your way. From the first tee box to the 19th hole and beyond. With over 400 fairways waiting for you, there's always another reason to golf Prince Edward Island.
All right, well, welcome back to the Flagstick Podcast with myself, Jeff Botter, and Scott McLeod.
Just looking at your clarification post on Facebook.
Oh, okay.
You might want to give a warning to people on social media about how they post.
Yeah. Make sure that when you post something on social media that you are very clear as to what is happening, because it can go sideways in a hurry. I just recently posted on social media, and I did it just for,
sure, yeah.
I'm sitting in a chair at the physiotherapist. I got my arms wrapped up with electro wires coming out both sides. I'm hooked up to this machine. There's tingles going down. My muscles are spasming. I'm thinking this would be a cool photo.
Yeah,
so I take a picture.
Looks like Jeff's in ICU.
Take a picture and post it up, and some comment about just getting ready for the golf season. And
my mom
it went sideways in a hurry. I think everybody thought that I was just had surgery on both my shoulders. Now look, I'm going to be honest with you. The pain that I've been in the last few weeks, I haven't been able to move my arms. Even doing my hockey sessions, I can't cancel them because I'm already paying for the ice. So I'm trying to still do them. So I have to keep my arms down because I can't lift my arms up.
That's why we never see Jeff's hands on the podcast.
Exactly. So. They're down here. But my range of motion was a 0. It was painful. I couldn't sleep at night. So it was bad. So, but a few weeks of physiotherapy and some meds and some diagnosis, and finally, an idea of what's going on. And now, my range of motion
look,
is back.
Your arm is up.
Yeah, no, look at it. I can swing a golf club. So I just posted some clarity that I didn't have surgery. Doesn't discount it. I'm not. This isn't like a. No. I didn't sprain my ankle here.
No. Because Jeff needs those extra strokes. He wants. This is exactly what he's setting you all up for. If he wants a golf game, he needs extra strokes. That's what he's doing.
So hopefully, it's what's going on is out of my shoulders now, and I'm going to get some strength back there, and it stays out of the rest of my body because what's going on has a tendency to move around on me from time to time, and it doesn't. It's not pretty.
There you go.
Lessons to be learned. Make sure you get it right the first time when you post on social media. You look like stupid. Great back nine. Okay, well let us start the back nine.
Sure, let's do that.
Officially presented by Celtic Golf Center with 2 great locations, Kempville and a brand new place in Kingston. Both featuring multiple state-of-the-art TrackMan sims. Your golf season never has to end. Enjoy a round of golf with friends. Join one of the many leagues. Get fit for some new equipment or take a lesson. Celtic Golf Centers have got you covered because it really is all about the golf. Visit CelticGolfCenter.com to learn more, book tee times, or sign up for a league. Okay, now that we got my shoulder issues out of the way, and we can. Oh my God. Sometimes I don't know. I need more coffee or another cookie. Okay, well. Scott and I both recently had the opportunity to settle in on Saturday,
Mhm.
and zoom in to the OVGA's, the Ottawa Valley Golf Association's annual general meeting. And this is a time when the association kind of has each of their directors, go through their portfolios, read in the budget from the previous year, talk about some of the things that are planned for this year, and ask some, get a little Q&A going. Usually there's somebody from Golf Ontario in attendance. So in this case, Kyle McFarland was there from Golf Ontario, and obviously had representatives from Golf Quebec and from Golf Canada.
Yeah.
So there's some clarity on some of the questions. Hopefully, some of the answers are provided. Now, one of the things that sort of, was brought forward and seemed to be the primary topic of conversation near the end of the meeting.
Yeah, it was a question. It was a question from the floor after there was some comment about junior golf and junior golf programs, and that sort of prompted this conversation.
Yeah. So, and this is a good conversation because this is a conversation that Scott and I have had numerous times, and we've had this conversation with a lot of golf course operators, managers over the years. Junior golf is something for us that is it's probably the one area that we do tend to devote a lot of our attention. Through what we do with the Play Junior Golf Tour, through what we do with the Junior Intersectional Program within the Ottawa Valley Golf Association. So when this topic comes up, you want to have a conversation about it. And I guess this kind of has been an ongoing thing for a while. But going back to, I guess we have to kind of go back to when COVID happened.
Yeah.
And at that time, I won't say that junior golf memberships were on the rise or anything like that, but there was certainly a little bit more emphasis being put on having junior members at your club. When COVID hit, all of a sudden, the very first year of golf kind of coming back, junior members, like the golf clubs could not get enough junior members on the golf course. It was a push. The juniors were joining golf courses because the parents wanted their kids to have something to do outdoors. Golf was the only thing that they could do. All these other indoor things that they've done, team things that they've done, they weren't allowed to do. So this was the big push, the big opportunity to really get the junior golfer involved. Now, the problem is that after that big push, that big jump, the next time that comes around, now, well, wait a second.
Yeah.
With all those junior members on the golf course, now we don't have room for as many adult members, and the adult members, the wait list is long, and those members are paying the most amount of money because the junior memberships are cheap.
Yeah.
So now it's like, okay, some golf courses basically just cut the junior membership, either in half, made it or almost non-existent.
Just said no more junior members.
Yeah. And they didn't renew junior memberships. They didn't take any new ones on. You weren't allowed to be a junior member unless you had a full paying adult member at the golf course already. So it really became a case of, and here's the thing, I totally understand from a business perspective.
Yep.
Money in the bank is important. I understand. I'm a business person. I've been doing this for 30 years. I need money in the bank to run my business. But there is a balance, and I think that's what we're talking about, is growth and balance versus the future. And the reality is that I think most golf course operators and managers and owners, and so they understand this, but they haven't figured out how to do it yet. And that is the future of the game that we play, that we're involved in here, is the juniors. Sure, that's the future, because then they're new golfers. They start as 8-year-olds, 9-year-olds, 10-year-olds, all the way up to 18-year-olds, and then they become adult members or intermediate members, and then adult members, and it's a process. If you eliminate everybody 18 and below from the equation,
Mhm.
How are you going to grow the game by eliminating the younger generation from taking up the sport and getting interested in it? The expectation then lies that I'm not worried about them when they're under 18, but once they get over 18, then I'll start promoting to them. But if
Yeah,
you don't get them into the game, how are you going to, they're not going to
yeah.
be the ones taking up the game.
Yeah, and COVID created a very unique situation. In fact, that we had a lot of adults taking up the game, ones that had no affiliation with the game before. And let's put it out there this way: we've got 2,400 golf courses in Canada. Every single one of them has their own business model, the own way they're doing things. We're not picking on anyone particular here. This is not the case. Everybody's got a different situation going on, but what's happened over the years is that every year there's no same in golf, right? I mean, it's the same like the weather. There's no normal year. So, same thing with golf. We see issues that happen over time, things that emerge over a period of time. And this is continued to be one because now we're 5 years since, COVID reared its head. We see, golf courses that are quite full. But we also have to understand that at some point we're going to see some diminish. I mean, basically, if we look at over time, over the years, different decades where things have happened, circumstances, socioeconomic circumstances, other different things have swelled the population of golf, and it's not necessarily always been by us in the golf business that have actually done it. Circumstances have resulted in more golfers being there. Rise in wealth, attention when TV got to be part of things, baby booms, all these things that have happened over 100 plus years. So what we have to be ready for, though, is what's going to happen on the other side of it. Because, while we look at it from, as you said, need business, need current business, need to balance the books, need to get money in the door, we still always have to be thinking of what's going to happen years from now. And that's a constant struggle because it's really easy to get caught up in the fact that, hey, I've just birdied the last 3 holes, this is never going to end, to all of a sudden
it ends.
it's like, uh-oh, the bogeys are going to come. So how are we going to deal with that? So I think the discussion here a little bit is about, balancing current business versus future needs. What is kind of what are the scenarios, what are the things? So the discussion point that was brought up by the member from the floor was saying, hey, you're talking about growth in golf, but I'm not seeing it at my club. Now, I don't know where the club was. I didn't listen in. I didn't know those particular things. And I can tell you that it does vary from club to club as far as junior participation, for a variety of reasons. So there's no single one. We cannot pin it down to a single one, but certainly we can make those circumstances better at the particular clubs depending on what's available. And again, I think a lot of people look at, golf inventory as a golf club. Okay, you've got 18 holes of golf, the average golf course. That's our inventory. We've got this many rounds we can play, whatever. It's like, all right, outside of that, what can you do to not only encourage junior golf, but to encourage new golfers? And I think that's, as a PGA member, and you're an honorary director of the PGA. I mean, we look at golf and the future of the clients that we need to have to keep the business going. What can we do to enable that? And I think some golf courses are maybe set up for that. Maybe some others aren't. Is it programming? Is it physical facilities? Is it just, the emphasis by the board, the members, the ownership? I mean, there's a lot of different things to be talked about here. What sort of stands out for you kind of first off more than anything? Is there a particular?
Interestingly enough, one of the things that was brought up as by one of the directors that kind of chimed in on it was that they should, if they want to grow junior golf participation, that maybe they shouldn't be looking at it from a junior member perspective. Maybe you should be looking at it from taking advantage of the facilities that the golf courses offer rather than the golf course itself, and having more things happening on the driving range and things like that, and standalone ranges. Okay, I don't disagree with getting the juniors involved in golf at the beginner level
Involvement,
on member.
yeah.
But here's the thing. again, being involved heavily in hockey myself right
Sure.
now, skill development and for beginners is very important. So you tend to
Yep.
have, I do clinics specifically for advanced level, and I
Hmm.
do clinics specifically for beginner level. At the end of the day, even the beginner wants to play.
Right.
So you
Exactly.
can't just throw the beginner out on the driving range and call it golf, because it isn't.
No.
Um,
It's
it's
the start. It
practice.
should be the start of their
Yes, it's
experience.
the beginning part of it. They want to play on the golf course. They want to go
Yeah.
out and play the course. So you can't just kind of think that you're going to solve the issue by taking all of the beginning junior golfers and stick them on the driving range and say, here's where you are until you can
Till
afford to
you're
spend
18.
$3,000 on a
Yeah.
membership. That's not how
Yeah.
it works,
No.
and it won't work.
No.
But it's where they should begin. But that should be part of an overall program.
Yeah.
That should be part of a juniors getting involved in golf program. Is you start with a
Hmm.
group of 15, 20, 30 kids
Hmm.
going out to a driving range or to a facility that has a putting green and a driving range and a bunker and all that.
Hmm.
And you do a few weeks or more of let's do this, or a couple times a week where you're on the driving range and you're in little groups and you're working from station to station. I do this with hockey. Is you start and you work, okay, we're going to work on skating over here, we're going to work on shooting over here, we're going to work on stick handling over here, and then we're going to rotate. And you do that, and you do that, and then eventually those players, the next stage that they get to is small area games, which are like little 3-on-3
Hmm.
games where there's more of a game involved in it, and they do that
Yeah.
for a little while, and then eventually we break into teams and they do a game.
Hmm.
So that's the whole process. That's the hockey process. That's got to be the golf process. You start them here, you move them through, you expose them to different aspects of the game, teach them, they learn, they get comfortable, and then you work out to playing a couple of holes, and
Sure.
then you work out to playing
Yeah. And I, and
9
I,
holes, and then
yeah. And I like the programs like,
it's competition.
yeah, 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 and I'm not worried about the competition so much, and I believe I'm 100% with you with the involvement. I mean, we have a hook. I think where the issue gets to more than anything is when we get beyond the hook. We look at programs like in Operation 36, and I don't know how familiar you are with it, but it's basically a program that was designed by some pros that, and I truly believe it's great, where they start 25 yards away and they're trying to get onto the green and they're trying to shoot 36 for 9 holes, and they work their way out. The issue with that program or any other programs all comes down to physical inventory, because the issue is facilities have a difficult time. I can remember being at Glen Lawrence, for an example, and a fun golf course to go and teach at, but very difficult or challenging because it was busy. It was a difficult golf course to have juniors down there and playing. And then the same thing happens at every golf course. If you've got 18 holes, you want to get your maximum revenue for that. You have less and less weak times. There used to be a lot of golf courses where, by the time you got to the evening, it was quiet, right? And you had lots of space where you could take the juniors out and do a few things. That doesn't happen everywhere now. There's golf courses that are busy right till dark. And, as a business owner, you look at that and go, well, I want to maximize my revenue. So where do you put the juniors? So I think one of the biggest things that we have to see a little flip in within the industry, and unfortunately, we're not seeing a lot of development new facilities, is what do we have for facilities that can accommodate those type of golfers? So we've seen a reduction in the number of short courses, par 3 courses, because I think they were underutilized. And they were underutilized not so much from an attraction to bring people to golf there. I think they were underutilized as far as programming was concerned. People didn't realize that, your executive length golf course or your par 3 golf course, those are the perfect spots for new golfers, junior golfers, to learn the game, to learn the skills of the game, to have that extra level of fun beyond the skill training. Because again, if you're going to hook them, you're not going to generally hook them on the driving range. You're going to get them a little bit, but they need to test those skills out on an actual golf holes. You know what? Simulated golf will do that to a certain point, but it's not quite the same because it's not the full experience that's there. So I think the issue becomes when we start to look at facilities is that there needs to be some allocation for those space. Now, at the same time, there has to be a business case made for it, right? So that means a case of, okay, if you've got a good practice facility where you can execute some things from a game perspective, or if you've got a short course where you're putting some dollars into, it could be fairly basic. If we look at some of those ones we've talked about before, like in Scotland or whatever, 6 little short, small holes on 4 or 5 acres or whatever. But, there is cost for certain, but create a business case. Just don't throw it up there and expect people to go. You got to utilize that with programming and so forth. And, in that way, you can take the pressure off of being on the golf course, and you can get those players ready for when they can generate full revenue for a facility and to be able to take on the golf course. But yeah, it's a challenge, but I think the challenge is restricted based on what the physical facilities currently are in most places across the country and North America.
Yeah, I think that the idea of having a parent or an adult with juniors when they go out to play can solve a little bit of that problem, where you've got a full member or a full
green fee pay
sure. Going out with the junior, and they try to do that with the take a kid to the course week, but at the same time, take a kid to the course week is a good promo. But really, golf courses, like I know Metcalf does this, and I think Falcon Ridge does it, and there's many other ones that do it too, where they have a specific day of the week where
it happens more often.
You can have, it's a kids play free program where if a kid plays with an paying adult, they play for free. I think that's great, but why are we limiting that to one day a week? If we want to get the juniors involved, it doesn't have to be free, but we can have a reduced fee for a junior golfer to play with an adult after 5 o'clock or something like that during the week or any day, where it's just a cut green fee rate. So your juniors might be paying like $15 to play, and the adults paying 40 or whatever the after 5 fee is, and they're out there with an adult playing. At least you're getting one full green fee out of every 2. And you're still getting something for the junior, and it's not a full pop because maybe they're not getting a full pop worth of golf out of it. I don't know. And what's the solution, or is there one? There's always a solution. What is the solution? I don't have the crystal ball answer to say every solution to this problem is going to be dependent on each individual golf course. Private golf courses are in the best position possible to grow the game with junior golfers, but it's inherently more expensive even for the junior memberships at a private golf club. So maybe private golf clubs should be opening the door to memberships for juniors that do not have adult paying members. And then that kind of messes with their overall business model a bit. So there's a solution there, but it might not be the ideal solution. Because private golf courses have the inventory but don't rely on the green fee traffic. So they've already been paid for the memberships up front. The members pay,
but the members still want their time. So
exactly.
I mean,
but it's a little easier to kind of designate time for junior golf.
Yeah. I think the issue comes down to this for, each business is going to be a little bit different. I mean, this is the case, when we go back and look at the decline of municipal golf. This is a real key of why people didn't understand why those incubators were super, super important. They were the incubators to, lead to juniors developing and being at facilities so that eventually they could, blossom as members at other facilities. They were the perfect place for it. Much like, a rink or a baseball field or whatever it could be. The hard part, and we talk to business owners and all the time for golf courses, it's like, okay, what's my responsibility or what's my priority? So it depends on them. Some of them go, well, that's not my responsibility. I'm here just to do my business and do my thing. I don't feel I have a responsibility as far as the growth of the game. Others say, hey, I have the responsibility. My responsibility is to myself, which is perfectly fine. So I'm choosing to put time and effort into that to grow my long-term business. And, on the other side of it, then you'll get other facilities that go, hey, it's super, super important to us. That's our culture. That's our family. That's what we're trying to do. But I think overall, it becomes a really difficult thing for these associations because the associations don't own the golf courses. So,
no, and I think that's something that these associations, I know they know it,
yeah,
but sometimes when you look at how they try to operate and how they feel, what they feel they should be getting, I think sometimes they feel like, we are this, we're the growth of golf. You should be giving us this. And it's like, no,
you don't own
that's
the
like me
courses.
thinking I'm the golf media.
Yeah.
Everybody should be putting banner ads and doing advertising with me because, I'm who I am. No, that doesn't work that way.
No.
I know, trust me.
No, so that's why there has to be there has to be partnerships within that, and I think people have to recognize that those partnerships need to be there. But again, you can't tell people what their responsibilities or what their goals are. So, while we feel obligated as much to the game and the future game as possible, that's not necessarily going to be the case for everyone. And I mean, it comes in on a business side. If you look at golf coaches or pros, people will sit there and go, well, if you think so highly of junior golf, why aren't your golf lessons free? Well, that's not realistic. You can do a lot to support the game. You can spend part of your time doing that, but you still got to eat. So
yeah, 100%.
So it's the same for everyone else. So I don't think there's a solution here. What I would like to see, though, is just some more thinking about it more than anything. I think that's what frustrates me. Is I think too many people in all aspects of the game are thinking too short term and not long term. And I think if they spent more time thinking about midterm and long term, then when they get to those times, they'll have taken care of a lot of the things in the past that will take care of the problems that they might have right now.
Should the associations that are supposed to be about the growth of the game of golf as a whole be recognizing that the growth of the game as a whole comes from the grassroots level at the junior level, and be allocating more dollars towards programs to develop to get junior golfers interested, and less dollars towards elite golfers and highly competitive golfers and high performance. Because I see a lot of money being spent, and look, I get it that the competitive side of it is important, but I see the same thing in hockey. Way more money and way more effort is being spent trying to promote the ones that are at the elite level or that profess to be at the elite level.
Call it
even
high
if they're
performance.
not.
I'm not. I hate
high
the word
performance.
elite.
Okay, I like that word, high performance. So the high performance side of things is the priority, and the growth and the entry level growth is what gets what's left over, and because it costs a lot. Look at there's less players in high performance stuff, but the money that's spent sending them here, sending them there is way more money being spent on 20 or 30 golfers than there is being spent on trying to get 20 or 30 more into the game.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I totally agree with it. I think the problem is that high performance has become this sort of de facto hook that is it's supposed to be the kind of the drip down factor that, oh, that's what everybody wants to get to. Well, that's not where everybody wants to get to. There's some that want to get there, right? But the thing is, we shouldn't be depending on trickle down economics to make it better for junior golf. So I'd rather see the growth at the bottom, that creating the golfers at the top rather than the top going down.
Well, the thing is too, from a high performance standpoint, the players that want to get to the that want the NCAA scholarships and want to make it onto the tours and want to be at the high performance level, that's what they want. That's a small percentage of golfers. So the ones that want that, sure, give them, provide them with some funding that's allowable under the rules of amateur status to do that. Some subsidy programs for lessons and things like that. But don't throw everything at them.
Yeah.
And I see the same, like, again, it's the same with any sport, but because I'm involved in hockey, I see this.
Sure.
Hockey Canada does the same thing. It's all about AAA. It's all about the high performance stuff. But there's kids that are down at the lower levels that still want to grow and get better, even if they have no chance of ever making the NHL. They still want to, we should still be throwing some money down here.
Yeah.
Because that's what's going to help grow the sport. And that's the same thing with golf is not getting more involved down here at the bottom is not helping grow the sport. Having more high performance athletes may be growing exposure, and maybe in some respect they feel that the more that they have at the highest levels, the more interest there'll be from the kids at the lower levels to want to get there. I get that the logic a little bit, but it's a small percentage logic in my opinion.
I don't believe again that trickle down, that hero mentality, and
No.
I get it. I think they're playing into the egos and the clickbait that a lot of parents and stuff have gotten caught up in, and a lot of people have got caught up in the fact that the high glamour, high glossy stuff or whatever is the most important part. The most important part is that basically that effect. I mean, Henry Brenton had a great book and talked about it the years ago of that effect of that triangle of how a pyramid as it goes up. Well, guess what? If you make the foundation of that pyramid bigger on the bottom, you'll get more people to the top.
Yes, I agree. So, I like that analogy.
Yeah,
I like that analogy a lot.
It becomes really important. So I think we need to, everybody in golf needs to think about it. There needs to be a balance so that we're not just trying to drag everybody from the top. We're trying to push from the bottom.
Yes, exactly. I agree. You know what we need?
What's that?
We need we need to create a junior golf league. Similar to what we do with minor hockey.
There has been attempts to do it, and they have not been very successful, but for a variety of circumstances. There were some attempts here in Canada. There's obviously a PGA Junior League in the States, but again, we see those efforts go for a while. If they don't catch on right away, then people just sort of abandon them. So,
well, because again, all these things are costly.
They are costly.
It's very expensive. Like I just finished booking my ice for my player development program that I'm launching for player development program for hockey in the fall. And it cost me $400 an hour for ice. And I got to book 2 hours a week for 8 straight weeks. $6,000 for ice. That's like, and golf, the availability of golf courses to be able to do stuff like this. I mean, you're talking tee times at $50 per time. That's $200 a tee time, even if you can get a deal.
Wouldn't it be amazing? Wouldn't it be amazing if there was a low cost hub in every community across Canada where junior golfers could play for fairly cheap, and then it helps. Oh wait, municipal golf courses, where'd they go?
Gone.
Yeah, but part of I'm not even going to get into that.
Yeah, well, we're talking this. That's the thing, Scott, is that we're on a topic. We're onto a topic here when we're talking about junior golf.
Yeah,
is now we're expanding that out to not just junior golf. Now that's golf. That's the availability of golf at a cost that's affordable for those that can't afford it.
Right.
We don't want golf, much like other sports, to become elitist and unattainable.
Yeah,
it's already expensive. I mean, even a set of golf clubs is $500.
Keep going.
I'm talking minimum.
Yeah.
But set from someplace you can probably get a decent set. But that's just the golf clubs.
Yeah.
Then you got the shoes. Then you got the golf balls that you got that becomes a replaceable product, because especially beginners tend to hit them in places that they aren't able to recover them from.
Well, I'm looking here, I'm going back here, and I found the old website for the PGA Junior League, and I'm going to dig into this one. What happened? Because it was supposed to be delivered by CN Future Links, and again, is it because they're sponsors and they're not involved? Did it not become as exciting? I mean, we had that opportunity in Canada, and it just sort of fizzled and it went away quietly. Now there's always buzz when things are happening, because obviously, situations where, there's a chance to get some publicity and stuff like that. Hey, we're doing a great job or whatever. What happens when that stuff disappears? So anyways, we'll continue to have a look at this stuff and talk about this issue, because, it's paramount to the future of the game, and we can't all of a sudden just be all about the glory. There's you're going to have to get your elbows dirty here at some point and figure out some stuff. And, once we see a little bit of a crash in the traffic they see at golf courses, we're going to be back in the same situation we might have been quite some time ago. So
I think that's part of this. I think that's part of this loop that keeps happening is here we had COVID.
Yeah.
Junior golfers filled the golf courses.
Golfers in general
happened in the summer, but it happened in the summer. So there was a lot of junior parents were like buying up junior memberships quickly.
Sure.
And courses were selling them because we don't know what's going to happen with this. Then all of a sudden, the tee sheets are able to be filled up during COVID. The tee sheets fill up. You can't get a tee time unless you're booking 7 days in advance. Memberships are sold out. Then the next year, the junior golfers are being pushed aside. The adult memberships are filling up. Courses are sold out of memberships. Tee sheets are full again. And then here we go. Things start to balance themselves up. The correction starts to occur. Now, we're not going all the way back to where we were pre-COVID. But we are taking a step back again. If that step continues to go backwards and the memberships start to be available again and the green fee and the tee sheets start to open up again, now we want the juniors back to fill the tee sheets to, or now we're going to have more third-party green fee sellers involved again where we were prior to COVID. Now we're down to, maybe one or two. But do we go back to that model again because the tee sheets are open, the golf courses need the revenue? Yeah. I mean, this is the circle that we don't want to get into. We still haven't found the ultimate solution to ensuring that the game continues to grow year after year or continues to replenish itself year after year. We're still just riding waves.
No, we have to insulate ourselves strategically for what the future holds, rather than being reactionary and going, okay, what's happening today? Like, strategic long-term planning, looking, less patting yourselves on the back and more about looking ahead. And then, you can pat yourself on the back for creating a good plan to deal with some of these issues. And again, some of them are just going to come up and we'll have to deal with it, but you want to give yourself a good base to be able to do it. And in the end, you know what? We're a game where people play to the end of their lives in this game, which means we're always playing in a dying sport. We're literally playing in a sport where attrition happens like the other sports, but we're susceptible to it because if we look at, demographics that are playing the game, we have people leaving for a lot of reasons. And there's reasons why every spring, everybody's checking to see, is so-and-so back here or whatever. We got to find those new golfers and make sure that they're part of the game and make sure that we're not waiting for the next wave that puts them on our doorstep. We want to get them to the doorstep. We don't want to wait for them to come to the doorstep.
At the OBJ AGM, they made an announcement that they're hiring a managing director. Maybe I should apply.
Maybe.
Okay, well, on that note, we have to jump out of here. Great podcast. Exciting topics. Lots of Masters talk, lots of Junior talk. Really excited about all that. More to come. That's what we do here.
And check the opening calendar.
Yes, the opening calendar. Courses are starting to open huge. Thanks to all the sponsors, Metcalf Golf Club, Celtic Golf Center, and of course our good friends at Golf PEI. Golf Prince Edward Island is a premier Canadian golf destination boasting the most number of golf courses per capita in the country, with over 400 fairways closer than you can imagine, top-tier accommodations, and exquisite culinary experiences. The easiest golf vacation you'll ever book. So book them at golfpei.ca. Glad you're listening to the podcast. Be sure to follow us across all social media networks, Instagram, X, and Facebook, and TikTok. Subscribe on Spotify, Audible, Amazon Music, and Apple Podcasts. And do not forget their YouTube channel. Like us, click the notification bell. Make sure you never miss a single episode. But as always, we appreciate you tuning in. Until the next week, I'm Jeff Botter.
I'm Scott McLeod.
Always remember, go for the stick.